Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. If this is your first time checking out a video, please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. We're watching a clip of First Things First with Nick, Wright, Broussard, talking about the NFC win totals right now. As you can see on the screen, they've been released. We got the Cowboys and the Eagles at the top of the NFC East. NFC North, it's the Lions and the Packers. Tied as well at 10.5. The Falcons 10.5 for the South, and the Bucks a couple games behind. And NFC West is the 49ers and the Rams. I want to hear what they have to say first before I go in too deep. I think the Cowboys, I think the Eagles definitely edge out the Cowboys. I mean, unless there's some injuries, I think the Eagles are going to be significantly better, and I believe the Cowboys are going to take a step back. The Lions and the Packers is interesting. I think the Lions and the Packers, I think that order is right, although I think the Vikings have a sneaky chance at being a lot better than people believe. And I think the Bears can win 8-10, but I do not think that they will be able to win competitive games against the Lions or the Packers. So I definitely don't think that they have a chance at winning the division. The Falcons and the Bucks, Panthers, I think that's pretty good, actually, pretty spot on. I do not think the Bucks are going to magically take some step forward, and now all of a sudden Baker Mayfield and the Bucks are going to be this competitive team. I'm not seeing it. In the NFC West, the 49ers and the Rams, losing Aaron Donald definitely obviously was a big deal, but they still have McVay, Stafford, obviously, Puka. So I think that team, I think there is a reality that the Rams could have found their way into a Super Bowl, quite honestly. If a couple drives go a little bit differently, they could have found themselves in a Super Bowl. So I think they're a better team than people give them credit for, but I would still definitely give that to the 49ers. But I predict that the 49ers, since they had a pretty good year with injuries, you would probably guess that maybe Christian McCaffrey gets a little bit more banged up. Kittle is near the end of his career, getting banged up. Debo, always question mark with getting banged up. So, you never really know with that. But let's take a listen to see what these guys have to say. We'll break it down from there.
Into just his second full season as a starter, and the 49ers are the head of the pack for wins, 11.5. So we're going to do two things here. First, we're going to pick our favorite over, and then the pessimistic under. But we'll start with you, the team you're most optimistic about.
All right, before I give my answer, a little pop quiz or a question for you guys. If I were to say the 5 worst teams in the NFL last year were Carolina, New England, Washington, Arizona, and Tennessee, would you say that's at least reasonable? They have picks 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7, right? So
yeah, sure.
Okay. What if a team got to play all of those teams? That's the Chicago Bears. They're going over 8.5, guys. They have a last place schedule. They have those 5 games. 2 games against the Minnesota team that's probably going to be starting J.J. McCarthy. They also get the rest of the AFC South and the rest of the NFC West, which only has one team that Vegas seems to think is excellent. They won 7 games last year. They added Keenan Allen. They're going to add another blue chipper with the 9th pick of the draft.
Yeah.
And a full season of Montez Sweat. Once they got Montez Sweat, they had a top 10 defense. You can be cool on Caleb Williams, and this is still an over. You can think Caleb Williams is going to be the second best quarterback in his class, and this is still an over. Now, if I'm right that Caleb is generational and going to be awesome, then this is no doubt an over, but you don't need to believe in Caleb Williams the way I do to believe the Bears are going to go from 7 wins to at least 9 wins with that schedule and under those circumstances. So I think my favorite bet of the offseason is the Bears to win at least 9 games.
I'm not mad at that.
No, what you said made sense, but I do think I would say clearly, you might disagree, the 3rd best team in that division. And are 3 teams in that division winning 9 or more games possible? But I still think they're 3rd best. I'm high on Caleb overall.
I think they could.
I think there's going to be growth.
I think the Bears could legitimately go 0-4 against the Packers and the Lions right there.
Growing pains when he comes into the NFL. I don't think this is a C.J. Stroud situation. So I do think there are going to be some struggles early. So, I like them between 7 and 10 wins.
So you think
they
the
might
number's
get over.
right about right?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Who you got, bro?
I am going with Green Bay as my over.
Oh.
I mean, Jordan Love,
Stay right there.
they in the regular season 6-2 with victories over Detroit and Kansas City. Jordan Love is 18 touchdowns, 1 pick in that stretch, and obviously we know what they did in the playoffs. Matt LaFleur, we know, is a good coach. The front office is good. They got Josh Jacobs now to replace Aaron Jones, and Jones was critical to this
In the
run.
playoff run, yeah.
But he's 3 years older than Josh Jacobs. Jacobs 26, Aaron was 29. So if Josh Jacobs can run, why wouldn't he be able to run as effectively as Jones did? You still got the run game, and they still got Dillon back. And I think the defense will improve at least a little bit. And so I think they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender.
Wow.
So I've
You're
got
really
them over.
going
I got
for
the
it here.
over. Yeah. I
So
got the over.
the Super Bowl contender is a touch too rich for me because this was a team that while you and I liked them in the preseason last year, it really was a tale of two seasons for their quarterback and their team. So it's a lot of smoke based on how they finished last year, which is a lot like the Lions the year before. And to your to your credit, the Lions were a game away from making the Super Bowl the following season. I feel about the Packers the way you feel about the Bears, not in the number of wins, but that this number's almost exactly right. That I think they're going to be a 10 or 11 win team. So I don't vehemently disagree with you, but I think Vegas has this number right, so it's not one I would bet on.
Those are solid takes.
Yeah, because I think Jordan Love still at this point in his career has the ability to really like blow some games. He's obviously matured, especially within the last couple months of the season. Obviously balled out in the playoffs against the Cowboys. He's grown a lot. He's matured a lot. The rest of the team has grown and matured. They're all older. They all got more experience. But I do think, remember, Jordan Love did not have a great start to the season. And, you had people like Colin Cowherd pretty much saying, like, okay, he's not the guy. And then they kind of, it was a light switch moment for Jordan Love. And then everything just started cooking. I think it was like post-Thanksgiving. And, then they hit the ground running. And he was one of the best quarterbacks. And the Packers were one of the best teams in the NFL from that point forward. There's no reason. You can't just say, well, that's just who he is now 100%. That the other stuff before is just no longer part of him. I think Jordan Love's an amazing quarterback. I think he's an up-and-coming quarterback, and I'm really excited to see what the Packers can do. I believe in them. I think that they're incredibly competitive. I just want to still see some more games from Jordan Love, but I have sung the praises of Jordan Love in the past, because I do think he's good. But I still think that he has the potential to still get a little squirrely at times. Again, we saw that with Patrick Mahomes. I forget what season at this point now, but Patrick Mahomes was balling out. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, this guy's unstoppable. He makes no mistakes, no interceptions, whatever." And then he started having I think it was one of those. I forget exactly, but it was like he's amazing in the month of September, never loses this, that, and then he started playing badly, and people were hitting the panic button. And again, if it could happen to Patrick Mahomes, it certainly can happen to Jordan Love. It can certainly happen to Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, any of these other quarterbacks, of course. So I just think that there is that potential with the Packers. And the thing is that Jordan Love doesn't have that embedded confidence yet to his core, right? And if anything, he left the field with a pretty bad taste in his mouth of making a very bad decision with a very bad throw. So I think, there's the potential that next season isn't just going to be this smooth sailing. They're just balling out. But, I'm not saying that can't happen either. I think it all depends on who Jordan Love ends up being. If Jordan Love ends up proving to be a true, fierce top 5 type quarterback in the NFL, then I think the Packers absolutely have a chance at being a Super Bowl contender. I really, really do. I mean, that team is legit. They are young. They are healthy. And if they do get injured, considering how young they are, they obviously depends on the injury. They can bounce back a lot faster. It's just different. They are a strong, young, healthy team led by a legit coach. In a lot of ways, it's reminiscent, nowhere near as good necessarily, but slightly reminiscent as the younger 49ers. And they maybe don't have as good as weapons as the 49ers had once upon a time, or even currently now, just, rewind the clock in terms of years a little bit. But they have a better quarterback, right? Jordan Love is a better quarterback than Garoppolo, right? So, and I think Jordan Love's a better quarterback than Brock Purdy. So I think the Packers are to me actually a very fascinating team. So if Jordan Love ends up being truly him, then the Packers are a force to be reckoned with, without a doubt. And I think the Lions are going to have a very similar year. I really do. I wonder, to me, the big question is does Dan Campbell learn from his mistakes? Does he pick and choose more when he's being aggressive? You know, there's a very real scenario where the Detroit Lions lose to the Chiefs in that first game. You know, they went for a very, you know, aggressive call to go for it on that, you know, what was it, like a punt, you know, fake punt. And they, you know, they ended up winning, and good on them. That was great. But like, it's just, you know, the Lions caught a lot of teams by surprise. I don't think they're catching anyone by surprise. And I'm just curious to see if Dan Campbell has evolved as a head coach with some of his decision making.
Thanks.
You know what I like to do? I like to look around the bargain bins. I'm a TJ Maxx type of guy, you know? I head over to Marshall's clearance rack. Not even
Regular Marshalls. The clearance rack?
Clearance rack at Marshall.
Wow.
Yes, orange ticket. So I'm down.
Hey, nothing wrong
Carolina
with
Panthers. Have you ever seen anything in Bryce Young in the NFL? They were at 4.5 wins. I'm doing the bargain base.
that. They have nobody on that team.
The Vikings. Have you ever seen anything Sam Darnold?
I think the Vikings will be higher.
No.
Giants, yeah, I see Daniel Jones run and then fall down. How about the Commanders at 7.5? We don't even know who their quarterback is. How about Kyler Murray? You ever seen Kyler Murray do something amazing?
Yeah.
Ever see Kyler Murray?
Cardinals could be a little bit higher.
Kyler, last 3 games last year,
I got
when he
the
started
Cardinals
to,
above
get back
the
into the
Seahawks.
swing of things. Kyler was back to being old Kyler, completed 70% of his passes, almost 300 yards if you want to.
Yeah,
really
one of those
round
games
up.
is against the flailing Eagles.
Still, the Eagles made the playoffs. It was there in the. They also beat the Bears, who may or may not have been trying to win, and the Seahawks. So I'll take it. I believe in Kyle. I believe in.
I think that's smart. I think
Win more, 7?
yeah,
7 games?
to win 7 games. If
7
they-
and 10, and I win.
How about this, Wilds? Tell me if you agree with me on this. If they don't hit the over, Kyler's on the market next year. You know what I mean? If they don't hit the over, then
There's
I don't
talk that they already might be interested in drafting the QB.
Correct. And so
Draft Marvin Harrison Jr. Watch what happens.
And well, that's the part you didn't include in your stated analysis, is they could either draft Harrison, Neighbors, or trade that pick and get probably, you know, the 11 and 23 from Minnesota, add 2 players. So I think that's smart.
7 and 10.
No, I think that's smart.
No.
Easy. All right,
That's
pessimistic
not bad.
time.
All right, so Wilds, despite not being a sharp gambler, does have some sharp gambling instincts, which is you like to go over on the terrible teams,
Yes.
as counterintuitive as that is, and under on the high win total teams.
Correct.
What's the highest win total on that board?
Oh no, bro.
The Niners?
So let me ask you this. Audience, right now, how many games did the Niners win last year? You guys don't answer. You're pros. You know this. I think most people are like, they win 14? No, they also in 13. They were 12-5 last year. I know they were discussed like they might go undefeated, but they won 12 games last year. Last year, they did not have this schedule that they have this year, where they play outside of the division: Kansas City, Detroit, Green Bay, Buffalo, Miami, Dallas, and then, of course, inside division, the Rams 2 times.
Right now, Miami is all of a sudden a good team to Nick Wright.
And then evidently the frisky all of a sudden
Get one.
You know, Cardinals. So you have that happening. They also have. I'm not certain Brandon Ayuk's going to be on the team. I think he is.
Weird vibe.
But it's a weird vibe situation there. I think that it is absolutely in play that the Niners win 1 or 2 fewer games than last year. They don't have to fall off the map. They could still win the division. But I just think saying they go 11-6, the under hits. And so for those reasons, and because, and this is where I know we'll disagree a bit, or maybe not even, that I think that a Brock Purdy statistical regression is more likely than not, even if overall quarterback play regression. So I think Purdy's not going to have quite as good of a year. The defense, I think we saw signs of real atrophy at the end of the year. They're switching coordinators. We learned this year that the coordinator switched. There's the all of those things. That's just an under to me, even if you like the Niners.
I like both those.
Well, that's what, to me, the Super Bowl. Now, you mentioned that schedule is obviously tough.
Yeah.
But the Super Bowl hangover would be the biggest thing, and we saw that with the Eagles. It started late, but it happened.
That wasn't with the Eagles.
This is just ironic.
They lost their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator.
And
Jalen Hurts was injured.
You just tried to pretend all year.
No, I mean, I'm going with yours, the Cowboys. Your NFC team. He loves the Cowboys. Look, I reserve the right. We'll make our real picks in the fall.
Yeah.
But right now, the Cowboys have lost 6 starters. I know they got Eric Kendricks, so okay, maybe they lost 5. Let's say they've lost 5 starters. They don't have a running back, and I guess everybody thinks Rico Dowdle will be able to fill in, or Deuce Vaughn, but they don't have a running back at this point, like a top-notch one. I think that's necessary when Jack
either, bro.
No, Pollard
was not good.
Pollard, no, didn't he get over 1,000 last year?
He was
a Pro Bowler 2 years ago. Last year was his worst year as the #1 back, but still better than whatever they have now. And Dak, the pressure all year.
I agree with this.
Right? It is going to be pressure on him all year. This is clearly an S-Bob year. They know it. It's one and done for them. And so I think, Nick, the Cowboys are coming back.
For whatever it's worth, the last time
they might win. They'll win 10, but
right.
10
and so that's the thing is the last time Dak was healthy and they didn't win 12 games was 2019. And so you can doubt the Cowboys in the playoffs, but doubting the Cowboys in the regular season has been a losing bet.
A lot of those guys are gone. And Jerry's talking about the guys we got in the building. They're going to have to play. We'll see.
That's fair. I think the Cowboys, when you get 4 games against the Commanders and Giants built in, I think they'll win at least 11 games. So I disagree with you.
All right. Am I doing mine, Dust, or are we going?
Say yours, yeah.
Well, I don't know. We went to
do yours. You're part of the show, buddy.
I wasn't 100% sure. Okay, teams with 10.5. The Cowboys are very good. The Eagles
did switch
might
the
be
camera,
too much money
like
on them, according to
camera.
Lions and Brew has the Packers going all the way to the Super Bowl. What's going on with the Falcons?
I ain't quite say that.
What's going on with the Falcons? We believe in Kirk Cousins that much?
Yes.
He won 13 with the Vikings.
Who's he throwing to?
Justin Jefferson. He got some
I do not believe that the Falcons, who can go 10-7, would.
Dude, the Falcons can go 6-0 against the Bucs, Saints, and Panthers. I'm not saying that he's definitely going to do that, but they legitimately can. I think the Falcons are a great team. Again, I'm not going to get too lost in this whole over-under, right? Like, I don't get lost in that personally. I'm just looking at this more of just these are the projected win totals, and so it's just interesting to kind of take a look at. But I think the 49ers will be about the same as they were last year, but I can see, since they have a tougher schedule, they will maybe have a win or two less, but I still think that they will be considered a top team. I just think I think last season, the way how the season unfolded and the way how some of these games were played with some blowouts like the 49ers against the Cowboys and the Eagles and stuff like that, that it gave this misleading representation of who's a good team, who's a bad team, and how close these teams are, right? The 49ers blew out the Eagles and the Cowboys, which made the 49ers look like this unstoppable force of a team, right? Everyone was like, oh my God, this is a juggernaut. And then they got blown out by the Ravens. And it's like, okay. And then the Eagles proved to not really be that good. And the Cowboys can only beat bad teams. And they then got blown out by the Packers, right, at home. So I think the way that season unfolded gave this misrepresentation of who these teams really were. I think actually the over-under actually shows this. This is actually kind of proved my point, is that you could see all these win projections are very close. It's 10.5, 10.5, 10.5, 10.5, 11.5, 10.5. So I think that's really what we're looking at here. I do see the Cowboys and the Eagles, the Lions, the Packers, the 49ers, and the Falcons as the top teams. Those are the teams. I think the Vikings could legitimately surprise some people, especially if Sam Darnold is the starting quarterback. I think he's better than people realize. Yes, Kirk Cousins, if he's fully 100% healthy and he's playing with the Falcons, I think that there's a chance that he will have genuine, true success. I do not believe in the Bucs, Saints, or the Panthers. The Rams, I really don't know what to make of the Rams. I have to see what they do in the draft, probably more than anything, and any other type of, moves that they potentially will be making. I don't think the Cardinals and the Seahawks are really going to surprise anyone. Can they make me get a few extra wins? Sure. But I do think the 49ers win that division. I can't pick between the Lions and the Packers. I think it's going to come out, it's going to be one of those things where you're just like, oh my God, the Packers, Jordan Love got a concussion at the start of the second half, and the Packers lost, because they had to put in their backup quarterback. Like, I think it could be one of those types of situations as to where, one team wins the division over the other. And the Eagles and the Cowboys, I think the Eagles and the Cowboys will both dominate the Commanders and the Giants, and will play all the other teams pretty competitively. And then I think the Eagles and the Cowboys probably split again, honestly. I don't think the Eagles beat the Cowboys 2-0, and I don't think the Cowboys beat the Eagles 2-0. So I think it'll be another close, tight race again as last year, but I do think the Eagles are better than the Cowboys. I think if the Eagles are 100% healthy, or mostly healthy, right? No one's ever 100% healthy, but legitimately, for the most part, healthy, I think they are going to be a significantly better, more competent team than they were this last season. So I think it's going to be interesting. I'm really excited for this season. I really, really am, because I think the teams are a lot better now, and we have a clear understanding of who these are. We didn't know who the Lions were last season. We didn't know who the Packers were last season. We didn't know really, what was going on with the Eagles. They were winning these games, but it was like they easily could have lost every game. Everyone thought the Cowboys were this great team. I personally did not, and they proved to not be this great team, right? The Falcons, the Bucs, the Saints, and the Panthers were all kind of nothing burgers. I understand the Bucs were kind of like a fun team to cheer for because of Baker Mayfield. They were nothing special. Sorry to break the news to you. And then the Rams had this inconsistent season throughout the whole season. And then the 49ers were a really good team. They were the best team in the NFC. They really, really were. But that wasn't necessarily saying a whole lot, I think in that situation, they were able to, outcoach, say, Dan Campbell and the Lions, take advantage of the Packers' youth. Like, I think it was very specific circumstances that I don't know if they get away with this coming season. I think these other teams are catching up. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. Please let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. And if you're seeing this video, that means a whole bunch of other videos are posted on the channel. Definitely make sure you click them. I usually post like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 videos a day. So definitely click around. I'm sure there'll be something else that you will enjoy to watch. Thank you so much, and see you next time.